morning, we have Dr. Gloria Mullins, who is with the Office of Family and Community Engagement and Education. She is the manager for Network 11, and she is a native of Chicago and a product of Chicago Public Schools. She has lived in Long Beach, California, Greensboro, North Carolina, Carlinville, Illinois, Alexandria, Virginia, and Chelsea, London. So she's been quite a bit, well-rounded individual. I enjoy working with her. She's also enjoyed an extensive career working with various community and government organizations in Chicago and Washington, D.C. She has a PhD in education. She has an education PhD in community psychology, a master's in urban planning and policy, and a BA in political science. And she is a proud auntie who is doing her thing as an auntie with her nephews, supporting them in their endeavors. So at this time, I am going to ask if we are now ready to record, and I am going to open up the session. Okay, we are recording now, looks like it. So I just want to say again, thank you everyone for joining us for the Computer Basics. Our classes are recorded and you can find them on our YouTube channel, Face2 YouTube. The link will be shared in the chat section. Please also visit our website on cpsparentu.org for more information on our virtual programming. Also follow us on social at CPS Parent U on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then again, don't forget to sign up to receive news of our upcoming workshop. We'll also drop that into the chat. At this time, I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to our lovely presenter and my colleague, Dr. Gloria Mullins.
Thank you, Merlin. Can everyone hear me? I'm just doing a sound check, mic check. Okay, so welcome. Please go ahead and buckle up your seat belts. I'm so glad that you all are here for this session today. I'm going to go ahead and present my screen. As I'm doing that, can you please drop in the chat box? If you are a newbie, put an N in the chat box. Let us know if this is your first session that you are joining us. If you're returning, put an R in that chat box. So we want to know if you're a returning guest of ours. Okay, so the presentation is pulling up. When you can see it, let me know. Give me a verbal, please.
We can see it.
Thank you. Okay, my next question, my next icebreaker for everyone. Let me know, when did you first receive a computer in your house? So were you in, elementary school, middle school, high school? Let me know when you first received your computer in your home. I didn't get a computer until I was graduating high school. So, just about 20 years ago, my grandma brought a computer into the house. So I want to know, let me know in the chat box, when did you receive your first computer? You can give me the age or you can say elementary school, but I'm curious to know. So Merlin, thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure working with you as well. And so today we are going to cover the following related to computer basics. We're going to go over what is a computer. We're going to cover what software, what's applications, what is the internet, and what is email. So this is going to be our agenda for today.
So Dr. Mullins, do you want to hear some of the responses?
Yeah.
So we do have quite a bit of new, folks joining us, and we have some returning individuals. And some of the responses in the chat is that they've gotten their first computer at grad school, college. Some people have said in middle school. One person said they were 30 years old and didn't use it till 8 years later. So obviously, and then,
Okay.
one person said 33 years old. Recently, prior to the pandemic, would go to the library. So quite interesting. And then one person said ending at their high school years. So thank
Oh,
you
okay.
for those responses.
Thank you so much. And if we really want to break it down, you know, the first real computer in the household was the Encyclopedia Britannica. I don't know if you all remember those, right? Those brown set of books with all that information. And that's how we did our research. But with the, creation of technology, we have information that's rapidly available. So thank you for your responses. So our agenda, we're going to talk about computers, software applications, internet, and email. So if you have any questions, I'm going to ask you to please drop them into the chat box, and we're going to get to your questions at the very end of the presentation. And if you want to speak, you can also either drop that note in the chat box that you want to speak, or we'll just open it up and we'll let each person ask their question or give a comment. So, got your seatbelts on? Here we go. So exactly, what are computers? So here is just an image of, some of the earlier versions of computers up to present day. So down in the bottom, I'm sure this was like late 80s, going into the 90s. And then, to present day, where we can see, a variety of computers that are represented as desktops, tablets, cell phone devices, etc. So when we think about computers and the general definition, the term actually comes from the Latin word, computational, which means calculate. So if we look at the exact definition of the term computer, we will find that to perform this task, it has an input and an output. Okay, so basically you input information into the computer and it's going to give you some information in return. So I'd like to always start off with a general definition. And so when we think about going further, the typical computer system today is going to offer numerous bells and whistles, right? Like video cameras and special types of disk drives for storing your files. While computers, they consist of all of these parts, you don't need to know about all of them, right? Unless you plan to repair your own computer, okay? So the components in a basic business computer system have been consistent for years. So you only really need to know about these key components that we're going to cover today. But of course, you can always learn more about computers. So here are the basic computer component parts, okay? These are the primary parts, okay? We have our monitor, right? That's right there in the center. And then we have our tower. And then we have the keyboard and we have the mouse, okay? So these are the main parts of a computer. The image may be a little dated, but again, I just want to focus on our primary computer parts. Now we have our mouse. And so the mouse is a handheld pointing device that detects two-dimensional motions relative to the surface. So basically, this motion is typically translated into the motion of a pointer on display, which allows a smooth control of the graphical user interface of a computer. What does all that mean? It directs and guides. It's a pointer. It's like your pencil. It's like your pen. You're writing a letter. You're filling out information. That pen is your guide. And so a mouse is the pointer when you are utilizing the computer. Now let's talk about the keyboard, okay? These are all of the parts of a keyboard that are listed here, okay? So I won't cover, you know, all of them in detail, but it's good just to have an understanding of, you know, what's happening on the keyboard. So starting on the left with the escape key, it's going to be found on most computer keyboards, and it's used for any of various functions as to, you may want to interrupt a program, you may want to cancel out the current process or whatever program you're running, or you may want to close a pop-up window. So that's how that escape button is used. When we move next to the escape button, we arrive at our function keys, which are like those pink keys across the top, the F1, the F2. And so these keys basically, they serve as a shortcut, and it performs certain functions like saving a file, printing data, or refreshing a page. For example, you can select the F1 if you want to like default to a certain type of program, or if you want to do something differently. So those are our function keys. Next up is going to be the typewriter keys, right? It's all of the keys that are on the keyboard that allows you to manually enter characters so that they can appear on the screen and so that you can print that information off of the computer. Moving over to the right, you know, we have our numeric keys. And so it's going to allow, you know, you to move up and down on the screen, just like the mouse allows for you to move throughout the screen. These numeric keys also allow for navigation up and down and left and right. Okay, so these are the general keys on the keyboard. We do have some more keys that I want to bring your attention to. Let's go over to our control keys. They're like the dark purple down here at the bottom. And so this is a key that is going to alter the function of another key if it's pressed at the same time. So oftentimes, if someone wants to take a picture of the screen that they have, then you press, you know, two buttons at the same time, and that will allow for that function to be carried out. Some more keys that we have is very important is also the cursor keys. So they are going to be programmed or designed to move in a specified direction. We have our enter key, and that's a key on a computer keyboard, which is used to perform, you know, various functions such as, you know, a command or selecting an option on the menu. So just a brief overview of actually what's going on the keyboard. And if you're typing a document and you make a mistake, of course, there's that backspace button. If you're, you know, typing information and you want to go to the next line, there's an enter button. So we could, you know, we could go on and on about the keyboard, but for the purpose of this presentation, just wanted to give you an overview of the functions of a keyboard. Okay, so now that we know what our main components are of the computer, which it's the monitor, right, the case, the speaker, and the keyboard, and the mouse, let's just have a preview of the inside case of the computer, okay? So, and again, we don't anticipate that you're gonna open up the computer and start working on it. But if you do, these are all of the items inside of the computer, the components that keep it running. So you have your power supply, you have your DVD drive, which most computers, they don't even come with that anymore. It's external. You have your main board, often referred to as the motherboard. That moves everything around, and it's gonna carry out those commands that you're entering from the keyboard. The CPU, that's your central processing unit. You have a fan to keep things cool. You have your RAM, which is like your memory and things. You have your VGA card, your sound card, your hard disk. So these are all the components inside of the computer that allow for it to work. And so just want to give you a general overview of the inside of those computer parts. Okay. So in case you are wondering, what are all of the primary components that make up a computer? And so listed here are definitions which you can reference later, but it's very important to become familiar with the basic components of the computer. So again, just to refresh, we have our monitor, and that's going to be that output device that let you see your work as you go. And then there's the CD, DVD drive, where you can read, it'll read the disc. And then you have the system unit. That's the case that contains the central processing unit, your memory, the power supply, disk drives, and all other hardware, such as a modem, that are an internal format, okay? Next up is our printer. And so that actually produces the printed copies of the computer output. So if you type up a document, you want to print it out, the printer will allow for that to occur. Our hard drive is located inside the system unit, and it's used to store your programs and most data. The flash memory card reader is used to read flash memory cards. This computer actually still has a floppy disk drive, which I don't even think they make those anymore. It allows you to read from and write to a floppy disk. So it's really what we have now are external drives and USB drives. That's what we have now. And of course we have our mouse, which is the pointing device. And I'm demonstrating the mouse functionality like right now, that little cursor, okay? And so it is used to make on-screen selections. And then we can see our CD and our DVD disc. And so they're commonly used to deliver programs and store large multimedia files. Now with the way technology is today, you know, storage is really taking place in what they call the cloud. So it's up in the sky. You really don't see too many DVDs, but they're still out there. And then of course, right, we have that keyboard. So that's our principal input device that's used to type instructions into the computer. And then we have our floppy disk. And so that's used for storing small amounts of data for backup or to transport data to another PC. And then we have our microphone, and that's—
Dr. Mullins, one person is really asking, what is RAM? RAM, can you elaborate on what that stands for?
So I wanted to, okay, pause for questions. That's really I believe it's associated with like your memory and how much you have of it. We will also put together an FAQ to provide some more information about that. But typically it's how much like memory you have on the computer, and I believe you can add more like if you run out, but we can definitely circle back in our FAQ. Are there any other questions since we've taken a break to?
No, that was the one that there's other questions, but we can proceed.
Okay. So again, just wanted to give you an overview, right? These are all of the basic computer parts. More on computer parts, more on parts that are connected to the computer that allow for it to work. So I just want to reintroduce these parts. So we have the printer on the screen. We have our storage device, which is that tower. Now there's scanners, which is an input device, right? You put the document on the sheet and you can scan it, and that information goes into the computer for you to do whatever operation you need to do with it. We have the flash drive, the USB, which has taken the place of those little floppy disk and CD drives that we may have been familiar with. Now we have these external hard disk drives, because a lot of computers now, they don't have the towers that come along with them anymore. They have these sleek, small external hard drives, what allows you to store information and data. Modem, that's what is used for your communications, like your internet and things. And then, as always, we have the keyboard, which is our output device. We have the mouse. And then we have speakers now. And then we also have a webcam. So these are just some of the additional parts that can be connected to the computer to allow for it to work. So now we're going to move on to software and applications. So software is essentially the programs and other operating information that's used by a computer. And a program or an application is often referred to as an app. So you might hear that a lot, right? Do you have that app? And so an app is a program or a group of programs that's designed for the end user. And so what we want to do now is just look at some examples of what this looks like. So the word processor, a spreadsheet, an accounting application, a web browser, email, a media player, a file viewer, a console game, or a photo editor. These are all like applications and software that is used to allow for the computer to work and to carry out certain commands. So again, these are all of the examples for software and applications. So if you need to type a document, you would use your word processor. If you need to type a memo, if you need to make a grocery list, if you need to resign from your job, you want to type up a letter, you can do that through the word processor. Spreadsheets really allow you to list out information, to perform calculations. If you want to create a schedule, database, you can store information, telephone numbers, presentation, graphics, you can add images. You can search for, the internet for research, for travel. People also utilize various applications for gaming, for accounting functionality. For just about any and every task, there's an application or a software that is used to carry out the task. So let's look at Microsoft Word. And so here, when you open up Microsoft Word, this is a document that is used, and it's very it's very helpful when you are composing a document. So when you open up Microsoft Word, and just think about a sheet of paper, right? You have a notebook, and so there are all kinds of options that are available. So at the very top is your menu bar. And at your menu bar, you get all kinds of options. So there's the file button, so you can, save this document. You can view other features. You can print the document. So this is going to be your menu bar. And then right below the menu bar, you have your standard toolbar, which allows for more features. You want to check the spelling inside of your document. You want to increase the size of the image on the screen. You can do that. And then next up, we have our formatting. So once you start typing that letter or that list, you can decide, you know, do you want it to be bold? Do you want a certain type of title? Do you want a different color? And so those are all of the options that are available for our formatting. And then our cursor, like I keep moving this around. And so the cursor, again, is going to direct us to where we want to go, where we want to start typing. Over to the right on the side, it's going to allow us to scroll up and down for the document. And you can do that by hitting the up arrow or the down arrow. And then off to the left, right, it says view choices. So you can look at this document in various ways. You can look at it from the standard view. You can look at it from a web browser view, so you can see what the document would look like if you posted it online, if you added notes. So those are just additional options. There's also a drawing toolbar. So if you wanted to insert, you know, images and different shapes, you can do that. And then at the very bottom is more information like your status bar, how many words are in the documents, and etc. So here is just an overview, right, of Microsoft Word, the document, and the various, you know, functions that are inside. So with Excel, it's very similar to Microsoft in that it's part of the Microsoft Word suite. So in Excel, again, this is the main page for Microsoft Excel. And so it's a very helpful and powerful program for data analysis and documentation. So it is a spreadsheet programming for programming, which really contains, it's going to allow you to enter numbers in the columns and rows. And so each intersection of a column and row is called a cell. So each cell is going to hold a piece of information. So just like with Microsoft Word, right, you have your menu at the top, you have your options for formatting, and then you can, when you get to the main screen for Excel, that's when you can start to enter your headers, or maybe you wanted to do some calculations. You would enter, you know, a number into each cell, and then you can perform certain types of calculations. So right here, number one is what they will call an active cell. So it's highlighted. It's showing you that that cell is highlighted and it's ready for you to input information. Next up, we have our formula bar. And so if you wanted to perform a calculation, you would enter that formula into the form bar. Our cell format controls, it allows you to set percentages or pick a type of currency or however you want the information to be formatted. And on the right, it allows for you to expand the formula bar. And then to the right, also you can move up and down. You can zoom into the page. And so you can add more sheets if you want to. So here is just a general overview of what Excel looks like. And it's an example of a computer software that is used to carry out a task or a command. So again, just to summarize, here are all of the examples of applications that are available to use on your computer or your smartphone, anywhere from Microsoft Word to Gmail to YouTube. This is just an example of apps that are available for use. Okay, so now we are going to talk about the internet and what the internet is. So what exactly is the internet? So it's essentially a network of computer networks that covers the earth that forms the internet. So with the internet and the internet email software, email messages can be sent that arrive the same day. So if not in the same hour, with the internet and web browser software, you can view graphical information, informative web pages that are basically stored all over the world. So there are other types of internet software and ways to work on the internet, but email and the web are the most popular by far. Note that to connect to the internet, your computer also must have a modem and an account with an internet service provider, or it must be connected to a network that provides internet access. So that's just a general overview of what the internet is. So here are some of the more popular search engines. And so in case you were wondering, the www stands for the World Wide Web, because you're accessing a network of information and forms from all over the world. And so a web search engine or internet search engine is a software system that is designed to carry out the web search, which means you're going to search the World Wide Web in a systematic way for particular information that's specified in this textual web search query. For example, you want to know about a certain city, you type that information into your computer. So Wikipedia might pop up, or you may go to Google search. And so it's going to allow you to search for information. Now we are going to talk about email. So as we think about, before we get into email, let's think about mail. And so I want to make the connection between regular mail and email. So the mail that comes to your house now, that mail or post is a system for physically transporting, postcards, letters, and any type of parcel. And so a postal service can be private or public through many government entities or private systems. So I want you to think about the mail that comes to your house, right? So each day you get mail that comes to your house. And when that mail comes to your house, you usually have to do something when that information comes to your house, okay? So when you think about mail that comes to your home, it's in the form of a bank statement, right? It may be a credit card offer. It may be a credit card bill, right? Because we get those bills that come to the house. Or it may be, think about it, it may be like your health insurance card. It may be your health statements. There may be junk mail, mail that you look at and you automatically toss, or there may be some coupons in there that you like. There may also be mail about jury duty, right? Which means you have to do something, right? You have to go to court, you got to request time off, so when you think about the mail that comes to your home, I want you to keep that mindset when we think about email, right? Which is this electronic mail that comes, into your inbox on your computer or your smartphone device. And so each time you get mail that comes to your house, it's going to require a different response, right? You may have to call a company to talk about an error that was on a bill. You may have to fill out a form, right? You may have to write a check, right? Or you may have to go to an app to pay a bill. So when you think about the mail that comes to your house, keep that in mind as we walk into this technological world and think about, okay, what is it that I have to do? And how is it that the technology and the internet will allow me to carry out that next command? Okay, so with email, it's more rapid, right? It's fast. Okay, so you can send an email to someone and they'll have that message within minutes. And that's essentially what it is, right? It allows us to communicate in a faster way. And so the only difference is simply that it allows us to communicate quicker and it's electronic, okay? So that's email. Now let's look at how we go about composing an email message. Okay, so whether you have a smartphone or a computer, here is Outlook. And so this is a preview of starting an email. And so the main window, I don't know if you notice, it's very similar to that Microsoft Word document, right? The features are very similar, which means that you can format your message. There's a to section. So you would enter in the email address of the person that you want to send the information to. And then in the body of the message, you will begin to type. And then once you finish, you would simply hit the send button. So this is really how you go about composing an email message. You have all of your menu items at the top, your tools. So if you wanted to insert a picture or a file, if you wanted to print an email, if you wanted to save an email, all of the features are available and similar to that of other Microsoft Suite options. So as we, we're coming to a close, but I just want to really focus on understanding and knowing the importance of technology, because now we're in a time where we have to use technology now more than ever. And so it's very important to understand that by, utilizing and creating your skills related to technology, it's going to help you, personally and professionally. And if you ever feel like overwhelmed or think this is too much, just go back to the mail that comes to your house and think about how, okay, it's something that I have to do. And I may have to go to the computer. It also allows for that rapid communication. So we are definitely in a space where technology is here. It's not going anywhere and it will be here. So we have really covered the basics of computer parts, the software, the applications, internet and email. And so again, becoming familiar with technology allows you to create and develop new skills that can be transferred. So whether you're changing jobs or you're, starting school, these skills are transferable skills that you will continue to use and strengthen, right? As we use technology. And so there's a new piece of technology that comes out all the time. So it's going to be important to just be familiar, give yourself time and to research information and watch videos and continue to join our sessions. So I have some next steps for you. I want you to continue learning about computers and email. If you don't have a Gmail account, in the chat box, let me know if you have a Gmail account. I'm taking a survey. If you have a Gmail account, you put a yes in the chat box. If you don't, let us know. Just put an N in the chat box. Continue to join these workshops. And then I do have some homework. So when you come back to future sessions, I'm going to, ask you questions about these terms right here. So when you get a moment or over the weekend, this presentation will be shared with you, but just begin to, enter into the computer some of these terms and just enter it into the computer. See what images come up, see what information is shared about these various apps and programs so that you can begin to familiarize yourself with all of these tools. So with that, I thank you very much. This concludes my presentation. I'm going to pause and ask for questions. I'll leave the presentation up if I need to go back to anything, but let's open it up for any questions that came up in the chat box, please.
Hi, Gloria. This is Chantel. The only question that came up earlier was, what is a RAM? But I see that Kelly did answer that for her, and she was satisfied with the answer. And as of now, there are no more questions posted in the chat.
Okay, I'm going to stop presenting, and I'm going to ask if someone just wants, if you want to go ahead and unmute and ask a question or give a comment, and let me know, was this, well, let me pause first. Anybody want to unmute or ask a question or a comment?
Oh.
Okay, so can you help with, you said your microphone settings? So usually if you, well, how would this work? So if you go to the volume or at the bottom of your computer, when you go to the volume, and if you have attached a microphone to your device, those settings will pop up usually. And so we do have that question. So we will come up with more information in our FAQ, but usually you can go to the volume setting at the bottom of your computer screen and click it, and you can adjust it up or down. If there's a USB or an external drive, you may want to take it out, then put it back in. Can you help with microphone settings for laptops? Yeah, I think that's taking it out and putting it back in and making sure it registers when you insert that external piece. Like right now, I'm on a microphone today and it's a USB cord. And so I know it's working because you can hear me, but if it wasn't, I would take it out and put it back in, and then just make sure that the computer recognizes it. So when you open up your when you go to the bottom of the computer, like the taskbar, you can go to audio. So to watch similar videos on YouTube, we search for CPS University. Is that correct? Yes, I believe is it CPS Parent U?
Yes, I'll put the shortcuts in the chat, Gloria.
Okay. So the next question is, do you know the shortcuts for special features or symbols? Ooh, I do not know. I don't know. I have to look that up. Are we talking about for special features or symbols? If anyone on my team has an answer, otherwise we need to research that, and we'll put that in our FAQ document.
So I guess what shortcuts or special features are you looking for is the question, I guess.
Yes. So can you say a little bit more if you want to unmute or if you want to type in the chat box? So what kind of shortcuts are you looking for? So as we wait on that response, it is better.
Yeah.
Yes.
So in the chat box, what Rosa is asking is, she says, you know how you can do it on the desktop, but not on the laptops?
But you can. It just, so let me ask you, do you have a Mac or a computer? Like, are you just talking about to print something like a Control S? Mainly accents or symbols in Spanish. Ooh.
Yes, so I know how to do that. But do you want to take other questions while I
There
Yeah,
is
Kelly.
another question.
Yep.
Lisa asks, is it better to have a Gmail to use the Google Classroom?
Yes, you must have, the students can only access the classroom through their CPS account. So they will have to enter their username and password. And if they don't have that, simply contact the school. But yes, to use the Google Classroom for remote learning, that is the platform. So the students, yes, will have to use their CPS issued username and password. Okay. Any more comments? Feel free to unmute. I know Kelly is looking into another response. Is there anything else? Okay. She says, I know to make the N symbol in Spanish, you have to type Alt plus 164. Hold the Alt key down until you finish typing the numbers. Yeah, so we're definitely going to work on getting a response to that and having it in the FAQ. Kelly, do you have something to report out?
Yes, I do. So there is quite a few. I can put them all in the chat, or we can just put them all in the FAQ. It's up to you, Gloria.
Okay. You can put in what you have, and then we'll also add it to the FAQ. Okay. All right. So if there aren't any more questions, does anybody want me to, oh, wow. Thank you, Kelly. We're going to stop recording. So this officially concludes our presentation.